Hey everybody, welcome back to the Going Ballistic podcast. I'm the first host, Ryan Kleckner. I'm finally back from Africa. I'm back in the United States, and I'm here with the other host, Jason. Hello, Jason.
Hello, buddy, man. It seems like forever since we've talked. You've been gone. I can't wait to hear these stories that you got for us.
It's been like a month, hasn't it?
We've missed at least 2 or 3 weeks worth of podcasts. So
I'm
yeah,
so sorry, everybody. But yeah, traveling to Africa was just, man, it was amazing. It's not as politically stable as you might expect, or maybe exactly as you'd expect. There was more than one ooh, this is a little hairy situation going through, especially the town. Once you get out in the middle of nowhere, it was fine. But, around the airport, around the city, stuff like that. I mean, when you land in Johannesburg at night and your first trip, just getting to the rental car, you have, 10 different people mean mugging you. And you get in the rental car and drive to essentially a safe house. It's called they call it the Afton Safari House, which I would recommend you go stop at if you go into Johannesburg to do some South Africa hunting. Is you drive a couple miles to this place on the left hand side of the road with the steering wheel on the wrong side of the car, and you make it to this place at night, and it is no joke, 8 or 9 foot smooth concrete walls with razor wire around the top and electric fence and armed guards and guard gates to the compound. And you go in, and there's where you can eat dinner and have a little hotel kind of room and eat breakfast and head out the next morning in the daylight when it's safer. And you're actually in like a little safe house compound just because the crime is so bad over there. And as you drive out the next morning, you realize that any place that looks halfway decent has the same thing. Concrete walls with the razor wire. It's just a very surreal feeling to be in the middle of a modern city with that kind of a crime problem. So
I saw in some of the pictures that you were carrying on your hip. Do they have any special rules, or did you have to do anything special to be able to carry out in public?
yeah, you're not supposed to carry in public. Once you get out in the kind of out of the main cities and out in the bush, it's one of those things like the decision, I guess, was made that it'd be better to carry and keep any trouble away from you than worry about what the rules were out there. That was a weird experience in itself. Uh, we got pulled over on the way back, and we're like, oh no, here we go, because the cops don't exactly look like cops. Some kind of disheveled, crooked, sweaty, real thin cotton button-up shirts that says the person's a cop. It was a little hairy. It was really cool. I mean, it was amazing. It was an amazing, amazing trip. But there were definitely, on the way out and the way back, there was more than one, what am I doing, parts of the trip. So, or just go, 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 go. As we get there, my buddies are all telling me, before we go, they're like, oh, Ryan, it's going to be fine. Don't pay attention to the news. And then I get there, and they're like, oh, yeah, when we were here last year, our professional hunter came down and picked us up. And as we left the Afton house, he was, barely slowing down for stop signs. And we're like, why aren't you stopping? And his answer was, we're too white to make a full stop around here. Like, oh,
nice.
Thanks for telling me now, guys. Thanks for telling me now. But it really was really, really fun to go. I really want to go back. Honestly, I had such a fun time there. The trackers, the hunters, the animals, it was all amazing. So wish you could have made it.
Now, when did you actually get back?
I got back last week. I've kind of hid that from everybody, so sorry that's watching this live right now and you figured out that I'm not really over there right now. I hope you guys can understand that I don't like posting pictures of being out of the country and letting people know when I'm not at my house or things like that. So I'm posting the pictures now like I'm out of the country, but I waited till I got back. Redleg had commented now on our live chat on YouTube. Thanks for everyone joining us, saying all kinds of roving gangs are murdering the Dutch farmers. Yep, absolutely true. We were, driving by. There's a whole mountain we drove by that had like 200 something crosses on it. I said, oh, what are those? They said, oh, each one of the crosses represents one of the farmers that have been killed out here. So it is, yeah, they are actively taking back land from the white folks out there. It's amazing. And the Boers, the Dutch farmers out there, are a tough breed of people. They're just awesome, hardworking, cool people. But anyway, really, really good. Had a great time hunting. had a kind of some mind-blowing experiences with the opposite end of the spectrum of what I'm used to for rifles and cartridges. I uploaded one of the podcasts that we did around the fireside out there, that the one night we actually had some time, because most nights you get back so late or you're up helping skinning the animals, things like that. You get back and say, I'm beat. You fall asleep right away, wake up and go hunting again. The one night we actually had a few hours of downtime, we may have had a few drinks. And so I apologize to everyone. You either are going to laugh along with the podcast with us and listen to all of our jokes to each other, or you're going to realize that we keep repeating ourselves. Maybe both. So yeah, we shot, all four of us brought 6.5 Creedmoor rifles and Barrett Fieldcraft rifles. So with scope and rifle together, we were about 6.5 pounds total weight.
Nice.
Pretty cool.
Oh, dude, the pictures look amazing. I mean, it looks like you had an amazing trip. One of the pictures, that animal was massive. Whatever that big goat-looking thing was.
Probably all perspective. The wildebeest?
I don't know. It was massive, hanging. You looked tiny next to it.
Oh, yeah. That was an eland. Yeah, that was I told you when we first got it, I sent it to you. I said about 1,800 pounds. We ended up figuring out it was just north of 2,000 pounds.
Jeez.
And it fit in the back of a Toyota Hilux, which is so. Once we got there, I saw the Hiluxes because that's what we had in Afghanistan, and I loved them. And we can't have them here in America because of emissions. But they're a diesel, essentially Toyota Tacoma with really beefed up suspension. And I kid you not, they put this thing in the back of the Toyota. I couldn't believe it. They backed it up. I said, "There's no way you guys are going to do this." They had a winch in the back of the bed, the front of the bed. They pulled the head up, and 2/3 of the animal is still laying on the ground when the head is all the way up at the front of the bed. And then they couldn't get the head to hold still because it was too big. So I lent them my wilderness belt. So I took my wilderness belt and tied the horns to the front of the roll cage. And then the winch went to its back feet and folded it in half and put it in the back, and it drove back. It was amazing.
That's awesome. I mean, the pictures look great. Looks like you had a wonderful trip. I'm jealous.
Oh, it was amazing. Once in a lifetime experience. So Thondu asked, back to the NATO caliber discussion. I'm in a weird spot right now. I've been shown that 308 is not the answer anymore, and 6.5 Creedmoor is. I don't want to believe it, but everything I saw, I lost track of the animals between all four of us. I think it was about 15 significant African animals were all dropped dead with 6.5 Creedmoor. I mean, way better lethality and performance than I would have expected out of 308 or even a larger cartridge. That wildebeest that you see me kneeling behind, Jason, in one of the pictures I sent.
Right.
That's supposed to be one of the hardiest, most difficult animals to actually put down. They don't want to die. And about 100-yard shot quartering at me through the shoulder, rib, heart, lungs, liver, first stomach full of grass paste into the second stomach. So 3 feet of wildebeest. We found the jacket of the bullet, not even the whole bullet, just the light jacket through 3 feet. And it's just mind-blowing what that 6.5 Creedmoor is doing. So, yeah.
Now, what bullet were you shooting?
Old-fashioned bullet. We're shooting a Cellular and Bellow brand, round nose, soft point. Old-fashioned. Nothing special. Not bonded, not anything. And Red Leg saying hell just froze over. It is. That's why I'm Red Leg, you're right. I still can't gather my thoughts. I'm still a little dumbfounded by it. That even when I shot that wildebeest, as I was walking up the hill after it, I was talking to my buddy that was with me. I said, dang it, I shouldn't have shot. I had some of the AccuBonds with me that should have performed better than the 6.5 Creedmoor. One of the PHs offered me his 375 H&H to shoot the wildebeest because they're such a substantial, stout animal. So the whole way up the hill, I'm sitting there going, man, I should have shot it. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have taken that shot. It was already quartering at me. And then it was turning even closer towards me as I shot. So it was right through the shoulder, the worst way to do it. Blah, 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 blah. And right when I get up to where I shot it, we got the tracker standing over there like 20 yards away going, here's your wildebeest. And you walked up to it and there wasn't even a twitch. I mean, just dead. So something about that long, skinny bullet. And now, even though 308 has better performance on paper than 6.5 Creedmoor out to about 300 yards. It's got about the same trajectory out to 300 yards, believe it or not, about the same come ups, and it has more energy. Now, after that, the 6.5 Creedmoor doesn't need as much elevation and ends up retaining more of its energy. But at 100 yards, the 308 should have won any other day. But I don't think the 308, just in my experience, would have done what that thing did. And 15 animals later, all stout, hardy animals, just one after the next. I don't know, man. There's something to that long, skinny bullet, and I can't figure it out. And we rambled the whole first podcast about it, so I hesitate to go too much again. But I don't know, man. I haven't sorted it out yet.
Well, while you were gone, I've had a lot of people reach out, and first off, everybody's super excited, about the podcast, and thank you for all the advice. And
oh, good.
And the big question I got was during our builds in our earlier podcast, if there was anything that I would change about any of the, well, I should say the two builds, the two long range builds, which is both the AR and the 308, the 700.
Mm-hmm.
If there was anything I would change. And I said, honestly, I did so much homework and so much research that there's really nothing I would change about the gun other than the weight, because I like to carry it or I'd like to take it out hunting.
Yeah.
Now, just for climbing out of the truck and shooting, I love them both. They're both fantastic. But the weight was the one big thing that I would change for me personally. And they were curious your thoughts.
Yeah, maybe the same thing. I guess it all depends on the purpose. Yeah, heavier. There's no free lunch in life. So a heavier gun can typically be more accurate, especially if the weight is because there's a stouter barrel. All else being equal, a thicker barrel can be more accurate. A heavier gun is often easier to shoot because there's less felt recoil and it's easier to hold stable. So a ranged target gun is better heavier.
Right.
If you want a hunting rifle, go lighter. But when you go light, don't be surprised when you have a sacrifice accuracy. It's not just accuracy as in performance of the rifle, which can be sacrificed. It's also accuracy in your ability to shoot it. Right? So it's when it's that light, if a butterfly farts, your rifle moves. You can feel every little breath, every little twitch, moves the rifle in scope. It was very hard for me to zero the Barrett Fieldcraft because I'm so used to allowing the weight of the rifle just to lay there. And instead, I often had to put up my support hand and hold the front of the rifle or hold down on the scope just to hold the rifle still, because being so lightweight, putting my left hand under the buttstock, there wasn't a whole lot of mass there to hold down very tight. So it was actually kind of hard to get a good grouping out of it. So Thondu asked, if long and skinny is the way to go, why not flechettes? I don't know, man. Why not? Tanks use them. Right? I mean, an actual modern battle tank is only shooting a flechette at another tank. So Eric asked, what are my thoughts on controlled round feed versus pushed round feed bolt guns? Pros, cons. I think there's a lot of marketing BS in the firearms industry. And one of the things I would put as marketing BS is controlled round feed, Eric. Controlled round feed is the older Mauser actions, where Jason has like the claw on the side of the bolt. You have that like long skinny arm on the side of the bolt. So as you're feeding the round to the chamber, it's holding the rear of the cartridge as it goes in. Where in like a 783 or a 700 or any of those types of guns, they're just pushing the round in. The round is pushed until it pops out of the magazine.
Right.
Kind of like an AR-15, it just pushes it in. And some people say, well, you can't have a non-controlled round feed. You got to have a controlled round feed if you're going after dangerous game. Because what if you're like being knocked over and you're tumbling and you're trying to shoot the animals that's attacking you and the round could then fall out? Eric, there's a lot. I don't know, man. My experience with the guns, though, take a non-controlled round or a push feed gun, turn it upside down, turn it in any angle you want, and try and get the round to fall out. I just don't see it happening. Matter of fact, I see less of a chance for malfunction because you're not completely holding on to the cartridge. I could push a round halfway in, pull it out, and get it to fall out or eject without having it actually being, the extractor claw holding onto the bullet. But I showed guys that when we took the Barrett Fieldcrafts, they don't have a ejection port at the bottom. They don't have a magazine door or floor plate. So to unload it, you kind of have to cycle each round to get it out. And they were cycling each round completely. I said, no, watch, guys, you don't have to do that. You just turn the rifle with the barrel up. You turn it ejection port down. and you just take the bolt and just kind of push and pull back. You don't have to close the bolt because it's push feeds. You just go push, 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 push one after another, and it pops the round up and lets it fall out into your left hand. So you can just really quickly get it out without ever having to actually truly chamber the round and have a risk of an AD. And I showed them as I did that. I said, notice that in this push feed, non-controlled round, this thing is turned upside down, ejection port down, and there's no possible way the round could have fallen out unless I pulled the bolt to the rear. So long answer, Eric. Sorry, but I just don't think there's anything to it. I've shot a lot of rounds through an M24, and I know people that have shot a lot of rounds through M24, and never once have any of us had an issue with the round falling out or feeding. So I think it's marketing BS, but that's just me. So lightweight, Jason? Man, yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Well, and that brings me to my next thing. But first, I'm going to throw you under the bus here real quick.
Go.
Someone's asking me if I got my 22 trainer yet.
No, because your cousin didn't get it for you.
So to answer your question, no, I've not got my 22 trainer yet. We were going to order one, but I just don't think that's happened yet.
I just didn't do it. I'm looking up right now. You guys might live. This is why you need an FFL.
I know.
I'm going to my distributor. I'm logging in. Oh, there's my password. Yeah, getting logged in and see if there's any in stock, or if I owe Jason a huge apology. If there's none in stock, I'll just send him mine. I think that's why I didn't sell it. I wasn't sure if I was going to give you my old one at like a really steep discount or not, because I'm so set on maybe getting a 17 HMR. So what are we getting? A CZ.
Yep. Tactical.
All right, finally logged in. Just go through all the manufacturers I can get here. All right, CZ, going from shotguns to pistols to rifles, 455. Yep. Tactical, out of stock. Oh, I'm an idiot. For the record, it's $442 with free shipping from the distributor if you guys want to go look it up. Jason, do you want my old tactical for like an even steeper discount?
Sure.
Just because I love it. It's a cool rifle. It's just part of me really kind of wants to get that 17 HMR and try it out.
Have you wore it out? I know how you are with guns.
No. You should see the Fieldcrafts. My Fieldcraft looks like I towed it behind the truck compared to everyone else's. So I actually had scope caps on my rifle on the hunt, and the other three guys didn't. But they had these gorgeous, like $250, $300 soft cases that you get back to the truck, they'd slide in the soft case, and I'd toss mine like in the back of the truck. And they would all gasp like, oh, what? Is that going to hurt the optics? No, it's not going to hurt the optics. And actually, one of the guys, I won't pick on which one, was so nervous about the scopes and banging it around that at one time as we're walking back, I was holding the rifle by the barrel, and I was bouncing it off the buttstock and catching it back in the barrel as I walked, each step. I looked over and I'm like, hey, man, does this make you nervous? Because I'm very rough on my equipment, except I was the only one that had perfectly clean and nice protected lenses on my scope. So I protected what matters. Then they did the opposite. So no, it's in incredible shape.
So yeah, we can definitely talk about it. So yes, I'm still looking for a 22 trainer and want to do that, which brings me to my next topic.
Go.
All right. So I got a deer hunt coming up, going through all my guns. And of course, after answering the questions of what I would change, I want a good lightweight 500-yard gun for deer. So I've been looking at the Q rifle, right?
Okay.
I've been looking at a couple other rifles. We even toyed around with the idea of playing around with one of my rifles and converting it over. So my question to you, cousin, is there a good way to build a good lightweight rifle? Or is you better off just buying one, like a Q rifle or, something like that? There's a lot of variations like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of variations like that. I've never thought about building a lightweight one. When I think of building, I always think of building a tactical rifle, because I kind of think of building a rifle like building a race car, right? Most people don't build their fuel-efficient grocery getter. You know what I mean? I kind of picture the fuel-efficient grocery getter car as like the hunting rifle. No one builds a Toyota Corolla at home. They build a dragster, right? Or they build a hot rod or something like that. So it's kind of like the tactical in my mind. So I guess you could do it. I just never thought about it. I had a lot of good fun with the Barrett Fieldcraft. It's a great rifle. I think for the budget rifle, though, is no surprise to anyone. I'm going to say Tikka. You get yourself a Tikka super light. You're going to be just as light or lighter than anything else available. And you're going to be less expensive and great accuracy and detachable magazine. So, I mean, you can go get a Tikka. I mean, Jason, you get your FFL someday. I think you get Tikkas for like $500 or $550. With an amazing bolt, amazing trigger, amazing everything. The only thing that'll be less desirable is the stock because it's a kind of a cheaper plastic stock, but it's super lightweight. I would use that for a hunting rifle.
Now I love the stock idea on the Q rifle that folds in half in that whole scenario. So that's
why though? Is it because it's cool looking, or because it fits better in the vehicle, or what?
No, I actually hate my hunting rifles because when I'm hiking, and I usually do a lot of hiking up steep stuff, it tends to hang too low and get kind of hung up on me. So I like the idea of that being able to fold and kind of attach it to my backpack.
Are you carrying it on a sling over your shoulder?
I am.
Okay. Well, you get a light enough rifle, you'll just carry it in your hand. I think all day, every day, I just carried the Fieldcraft to my left hand, and it didn't get fatigued. Or if I ever did, I just flipped it over to the right hand. It was so light, it was nice just to toss back and forth.
And I kind of like the idea of it just being all hollowed out like that. I don't know. Maybe I just am attracted to the looks of it. Not owning one or trying one, I don't know. Yeah.
The downside to it is there's more complication to it, more parts to break or things to go wrong, and it's going to be probably heavier. A hollow or a carbon fiber stock that doesn't have a hinge is going to be lighter weight, and there's more things to do to shoot. But I can see what you're saying. Yeah, it could hang lower if you're slinging over your shoulder for sure. The Q rifle is cool. I like it because it's such a departure from what we're used to seeing out there in the industry. It's some true innovation, even though a lot of the designs were stolen, or not stolen, they were borrowed heavily from Blaser or stuff like that. It's still a really neat offering to see. My downside to it is I don't know how much I trust the mechanics of it, meaning the entire sear and firing mechanism of the Q rifle is in the bolt. And I've only realized this the more I've been kind of playing with it and I look at it. And the trigger that you see in the body or the receiver of the rifle is really just a lever that pushes essentially a button in the bolt carrier group. So when you put the safety on, it just holds the lever still. It doesn't, lock the sear in place like an AR-15 would be or stuff like that. So it makes me a little nervous, but it's a cool rifle. Yeah, I'd say hunting rifle. I would do the Tikka or the Barrett Fieldcraft. Just so freaking lightweight and get a small caliber. That's another reason the 6.5 Creedmoor was so nice. I was able to shoot a few hundred rounds before I went hunting and practice with it because that light rifle is hard to shoot. You got to get used to it. So I did a lot of practice shooting from a sling, and every shot I took in Africa was from a sling. So practicing a lot with a lightweight rifle is great. The guys get a 375 H&H and they go out to the range, they shoot it 4 times and they put it back in the case and go, oh, that's enough because it kicks so much. So having a lightweight rifle in a light recoiling caliber, I even had a muzzle brake on my 6.5. Pick on me as much as you want. I had a little muzzle brake on a little tiny lightweight rifle, and I could see the hits when I shot. So on a couple of the shots, I could actually see impacts as I shot, which is unheard of in a lightweight hunting rifle. And with its lethality, I don't know if I'll go back. That's the way to go. Lightweight in a lightweight recoiling caliber. Because if you shoot an animal in the hoof with, a 50 BMG, it's still not going to kill it.
Right.
So it's all about shot placement. And as long as I can go through the animal, getting something light enough that I'm willing to practice with and that I can carry, I think is the way to go.
Yeah, I've even considered taking that, like we were talking earlier, taking my 783 and getting some aluminum and water jetting it all out. And
I guess you could.
My own thing.
I mean, yeah, I guess you could. The 783 is such a simple, lightweight, inexpensive package anyway. I think you'd be, excuse me. I think you'd be spending way more time and money making a stock than the entire rifle's worth.
Probably. Looks like I have a question from Rich asking what kind of a bag I shoot off of. Rich, currently I do not use a bag. So when I go out and shoot, I typically hike out onto the edge of a knoll, and I'm using, which Ryan is against, a bipod, and my backpack on the backside and lay down and shoot that way.
Well, I'm not against bipods, but yeah, maybe I am kind of. I've used bipods plenty. Trust me, I may have shot off a bipod as much as I've shot off a bag. I'm just saying, if you're going to get into it, might as well graduate to a bag someday so that you have the consistent platform all the time. And it's nice to have the bag to have all your stuff. But yeah, don't get me wrong. Don't be ashamed if you're using bipod legs. They work just fine.
Well, and I use it more for a real life scenario for me because I don't plan on hiking around with a bunch of bags when I'm out hunting with the rifle.
You don't hike with a backpack?
Not a big backpack.
Yeah, but like a small one, like a little tiny one day
I'm not
pack.
gonna carry around a sandbag in my backpack. That's just added weight.
All right. You can get a lightweight one.
Yeah, I've not tried what you said with the soft air pellets
Yeah.
and the sock. I've not tried that.
Well,
yet.
for hunting, I don't think I'd do that either. For like I said, for this hunting trip, I had a bag with me the entire time, and every shot was off a sling. So hunting is different than tactical style shooting.
And I've honestly, thus far, I have not even used the bipods hunting.
Yeah, it's just
they're there because I think I'm going to use them, but yeah, no, I have not used them yet.
yeah. When you're hunting and you dive down into the prone to use your bipod legs, all you see is grass and rocks and
Right.
logs. You don't have enough time, so that's why you got to have a sling on there.
But I have this vision in my mind that someday I'm going to make this glorious 500-yard shot on a deer and be ready for it. And it just hasn't worked out that way. We were talking about it, me and Jared, and I'm like, I look back at all my hunts, and I honestly don't think I have killed anything further than 100 yards. It just, when the animal's there and it happens, it just seems to be where it's at.
Right. I know this is a controversial topic for some, but is 500 yards or beyond really hunting?
Well, I don't know, man. Sometimes you spot stuff pretty far away. I myself have never.
No, I get it. It's shooting animals for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just like asking, is it hunting? The way I look at it is, if your biggest thing you're worried about is missing, maybe that's target shooting because you're target focused. However, if the biggest thing you're worried about is spooking the animal, then maybe that's hunting. Because at 1,000 yards, I'm not exactly worried about spooking the animal.
Well, and I would never shoot past 300 because that was my skill set, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now that my skill set has pushed a little bit further, I would be afraid to shoot 500 yards. I don't think I would shoot 7 or 9 by any means, but I would feel comfortable at 5 now. Whereas before, there's no way. I wouldn't take the shot. I would try to get closer.
Right, because you're starting to know your dope for your rifle and what the wind does and stuff like that.
So awesome. I have that vision in my head. I've worked on these skills. Let's put them to use. But even in the areas I hunt where that's a real life scenario and there are far shots, I just never come across one that far, ever.
Right. Yep, it's not very common. I mean, it might happen for you. Go bighorn sheep hunting, something like that. You'll get that distance.
Right.
So, yep. So I had one really cool event. Matter of fact, I was at the Afton house about my book. I share it with you. Is the next morning I came in. I brought a few copies of the book for some of the hunters up north just to leave there for the camp and stuff like that. And so I walked in, to get breakfast and grabbed one of my books in my bag and went to go leave it in their bookshelf. And it felt a little pretentious walking in and being like, hey, here's my book you guys can have. But I know that some people like it, so why not, drop one off? So I come walking in, I had my pack in my one hand and the book in the other as I walk in for breakfast. And there's some other hunters there because this really is like the overnight spot for the hunters that are, flying in to go to South Africa. And as I walk by, one of the guys goes, oh, hey, have you had a chance to read that book? I said, yep. Yeah, I sure have. I walk by, he goes, well, how much have you gotten into it? Like, have you read the whole thing? I said, yep. Yes, I have. I actually wrote it. And he goes, oh, and he laughs. I go into the other room and his father was in there with him and said, oh yeah, he says he wrote the book. And I walked back in and went, no, really. I wrote the book, because you could tell they were laughing like they thought I was just making a joke. And he goes, seriously? So I had to flip to a picture of one of the pictures, and I held it up and I smiled. And then the dad just thought it was the funniest thing ever. And for the rest of the morning, everyone that came in the lodge, the dad was telling the story to about his son. So that's never happened to me before. So that was like my mini like F-list celebrity moment in the hunting world of a guy recognizing the book was actually pretty cool.
Oh, that's funny. And not believing that you wrote it. That's even better.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh yeah, you wrote it." I'm like, "No, no, that's me." I said, "You really recognize the book?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I got it. That's cool." So it was kind of neat. I had to go to South Africa to have someone recommend my book to me, but it happened.
Oh, that's a great question for you. So now that you're a 6.5 guy, is your advanced book going to have it in it?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Matter of fact, and after the advanced book comes out, I'll do a revisit of the first book, and update things or change some of the things I may not have explained the way I wanted to, or things like that. So yeah, people are asking about the Ninth Circuit decision today. I haven't read the opinion, but I've read some of the articles, and I agree with the commenters. Is they Ninth Circuit Court, which is crazy, typically the most liberal court there is from the federal circuits, and they said that open carry is covered by the Second Amendment. That the Second Amendment applies outside the home too. B Bucks asked, "Where's my man bun?" I guess because I like 6'5" Creedmoor now. How about this, B Bucks? I'll tell you that I like 6'5" by 55 Swede, so it's like an old fashioned caliber, but I don't know if that's any less hipstery. So anyway. Yeah, I'll figure it out more. I'm writing an article about it now, about how a 6.5 used to be used in history and what it used to do and what we're doing now, and how maybe we think we have the newest, craziest, coolest fad now cartridge, but really we don't. This has been around for a long time, and it's been slaying animals. Then the argument on, is weight retention really important? Because we never found a bullet that was solid or put together, and everyone would say when they'd see the animal or see the bullet, go, "Oh, well, I'd love to measure that," or what's the weight on that bullet? And I'm starting to think now, why does it matter? Why does it matter what the weight is? I think it's marketing BS, maybe, I'm not sure, but I think it's marketing BS that they talk about weight retention. Well, why do you want weight retention? I'm standing here over the dead animal that I got the jacket back from. Why does it matter if it was retained? Matter of fact, arguably not staying together, having the jacket and the core separate is now 2 wound channels instead of 1. So who knows? Anthony asked if I have any pics for my trip. Of course I do. Anthony, go ahead and check out my Instagram. Just go look up at Kleckner on Instagram, and you'll see a whole bunch of pictures I've been sharing from the Africa trip so far. Tyler asked 6.5 versus 308 for elk. I kid you guys not. After seeing what I've seen in Africa, 6.5. I mean, we were dropping animals much tougher than elk, and it did everything I didn't expect it to do. It just still boggles my mind what that 6.5 can actually do. And the point is, on a lightweight rifle, even 308, I don't think 308 is a big cartridge at all. We've all shot tons of 308. I've shot a lot of 308 myself. But in a 5-6 pound rifle, 308 can get annoying to shoot after a while, where 6.5 was just a dream. So now I have a few hundred shots from sling up positions, practicing with that rifle, no issue with recoil, tons of practice. I can put the bullet where I want, versus a 308 that I'll practice with a little bit, but then I'm gonna maybe be worried about the recoil. And more energy on paper just somehow did not affect the animals. I equate it to Arizona hunter safety, Jason. I don't know, did they shoot the bow and arrow through the sandbag for you guys?
No, when we took the course, they didn't do hardly any archery stuff at all. I mean, now going back to when I think I was in 6th grade when I took the course. We actually had a teacher that taught the course, and the only people that even covered the archery section were us. My dad and myself brought a bow in. We talked about them.
Well, that's cool.
But we didn't do much with it. I mean, they were all about guns.
The only thing we had for a bow was when they out at Ben Avery, they hung up a sandbag and they shot it with a 45 pistol.
Right.
And so they shoot the 45 pistol, the sandbag started swinging a little bit with sand spilling out of a hole. Then the guy takes a bow and pulls back with a broadhead and hits the same sandbag, and the sandbag just explodes. Talking about, hey, just because it's a bow doesn't mean it's any less lethal. The energy there. And I'm just wondering, is there something like the 6.5, something about that long, skinny bullet? Like, does it just, have the mass to drive through, like an arrow? I don't know.
No, the only thing we shot was a block of ice, and they did that with a 308.
And just watch it explode.
Watch it blow up.
We actually, at the hunter safety course, a guy shot a coffee can full of water. You ever seen someone do that?
No.
So he took a cinder block, he took a 50-cent piece and put it on the cinder block, then took a coffee can, for you kids that don't even know, they used to sell coffee in cans. And they put the coffee can over the 50-cent piece full of water, and he shot the coffee can, then grabbed the coffee can and brought it back, and I had a perfect imprint of the 50-cent piece in the bottom because the expansion of the water was actually
Right.
kind of cool. Yes, people are asking about would I take the S&B soft points over ballistic tips, like the AMAX and the elk? Yes. Yes, we're having stories from professional hunters and trips over there. Now, this is not going to happen every time. Of 300 Win Mag with the fanciest, newest, coolest bullets on the market, not going through the shoulder of a Gemsbach and being warned repeatedly, guys, if we take a shot on the Gemsbach with these 6.5s, make sure you hit it behind the shoulder and the lungs, so you're not going to go through so much. And the guy from Vortex I was with shot his Gemsbach perfectly center through the shoulder, and the thing made it exactly 30 yards. It turned and stumbled slightly downhill and tumbled till it ended 30 yards away. And it was just, again, dead when we got to it. So I'm seeing 300 Win Mag, great. But if I'm going to flinch on a super lightweight rifle, or it's not going to be fun to shoot, or it's going to be too heavy to carry around, or I'm not going to want to practice with it, or the ballistic tip is going to expand too much, or I got to rely on the bullet too much, man, I'm starting to believe that maybe the only reason we changed bullet design is because of the 60s and 70s we started getting such faster traveling bullets with all these magnums that the soft points wouldn't hold together. So they had to make a tougher bullet, like an A-frame or like a partition or something like that. And then we made the bullets so stout that they weren't expanding, so then we had to go the other way and start getting bullets that expanded rapidly. I'm just guessing, but that's what it feels like to me. I went over there with one box of the soft points and more ammo of modern bullet construction, thinking I was going to shoot the soft points to make my buddy from S&B happy, but then switch really quick. And I kid you not, I didn't even open the other two boxes, hadn't even touched any of the other modern rounds. And when I was getting close to running out of the soft points, I went and found more of them. So I actively chose and sought out the $9 a box soft point ammo over the $35 a box, fancy ammo. So take it for what it is. It worked for me.
It's good to know. It's interesting.
And they grouped. I mean, we all zeroed our rifles we got there and all shot under a minute. Round nose, soft point lead, imported budget ammo. A matter of fact, no, you guys, it all sucks. Don't buy it. I don't want the price to go up. You guys all need the fanciest packaging, and you need high weight retention. I mean, don't worry about the fact that the animal actually gets killed, which is what you're trying to do. Focus on weight retention, and then I'll use all the great, soft point ammo.
That's funny. It's funny as I think about what you're talking about, the arrow through the bag.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They used to be an ongoing conversation long time ago between me and a bunch of friends is, would you rather be shot by a pistol or an arrow?
Oh, pistol.
Yeah. And
all day.
And we'd say pistol all day long. And people were like, you're crazy. You'd be better off getting shot by an arrow. I'm like, oh, no.
No.
You've not seen what an arrow
I might take
does.
a rifle over an arrow.
Yeah. An arrow is probably, I should say, a broad-headed arrow.
Yeah, of course. Exactly.
Is one of the most devastating wounds I've ever seen on an animal that I've shot. Is from
in the same spot. Same exact spot. I take a bullet for sure.
Yeah.
Especially over a toxic broadhead.
So, and it's funny for people that don't know much about archery or have shot archery or have hunted archery. I'd have to say an arrow is one of the nastiest things.
Mm-hmm. Weren't you the one that turned me on or told me about those toxic broadheads?
Yes, I actually took
this is gross even looking at pictures of them.
Oh yeah, and I took a deer hide, hung it over my target, that we had tan, and actually hit it with a broadhead and hit it with one of those toxic broadheads. And the hole that it leaves is just horrible. I mean, it's a perfect clover leaf that just takes everything with it, veins, arteries.
So my favorite broadhead, I've never used those toxics. They just look nasty. My favorite broadhead are Slick Trick. You ever shot those before?
I've not shot them. I've seen them.
They're the lowest on marketing hype, but the best flying, great performance. I love Slick Trick broadheads.
Now, I've never killed anything with a toxic broadhead.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't confess to how awesome or how good it works on an animal. Now, I've used Muzzies, which is the old classic steel two blade. I've killed.
Mm-hmm. No, you're talking Zwickies.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Zwickies. Muzzies were
we used
four-bladed ones.
The collector family is all about Zwickies. That is like,
I love Zwickies.
I loved them too. Old bow hunting aluminum arrows where you're gluing the Zwickies onto the inserts yourself at home,
Yep.
and you could resharpen them with a file because they're heavy enough steel. Oh yeah, the green like Zwicky broadheads. Well, the beauty of it is all the fancier, smaller, 4-blade or 3-blade broadheads could actually get hung up on elk's ribs.
Yep.
They're so light and they're too wide, but those steel Zwickies would just blow through an elk's rib. Yeah, I loved old like 2117 aluminum Easton arrows with feathers and Zwicky
Yep.
broadheads out of a
Yeah,
bare
we
bow.
did.
That's the way to go.
Yeah, we did 2216s with the same setup.
Yeah, matter of
Yeah, I
fact, if I
still.
ever shoot an animal with your longbow that you made for me, I think I'd have to shoot it with a Zwicky.
Oh yeah, I have wikis on everything right now.
That's hilarious.
Yep, still use them. They're actually kind of hard to find anymore.
I bet.
But yeah, I got a pile of them, and you can resharpen them, like you said,
Yeah, take a file for sharpen them. It's awesome.
and they're cheap.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, any other comments or questions you wanted to cover tonight?
No, like I said, just considering a light build, and I've always been pushing towards a 308, but you keep talking about this stupid 6.5.
You should do a 308 because I got to unload my 308s to somebody. So I think it should be you.
I just like keeping it the same because then I have all the same ammo.
So do I, which is why I'm so conflicted here. I want a NATO cartridge. I want something I can find everywhere. I want all that, and the uniformity of it all, and yada yada yada. And then I just have to stand there one ammo after the next and go, man, that is so unexpected. That's so light recoiling. That's so flat shooting. Now you can find 6.5 Creedmoor everywhere. I actually saw more SKUs of 6.5 Creedmoor in Walmart my last time I happened to be in there over 308. At SOCOM's taking 6.5 Creedmoor, so the military's adopting it now. They're going for a belt-fed 6.5 Creedmoor machine gun. So maybe 6.5 Creedmoor is finally here. I texted Kyle Lamb about it with some of the animals in Africa, and his only answer was, "Welcome to 2018, Ranger." So anyway, I don't know, man.
I thought their new big thing they're supposed to be working on is the caseless cartridge. I know it's an old concept, but I've been seeing more and more of that pop up in the news lately for some reason.
Yeah, it'd be awesome if they get it to work out, for sure. I mean, if you can get truly caseless, you've removed a lot of the chances of malfunction. Right? You don't have to worry about, ejecting or extracting, the spent brass.
Right.
Tyler asked me Graybow versus HS Precision stocks. Depends what you're going for. I think if you want a heavy duty tactical working rifle, the HS Precision with the aluminum bedding block is still kind of the way to go. But the Graybow stocks are amazing. You want a hunting rifle, or you're willing to glass bed a precision rifle, I don't think there's any reason to go with Macmillan anymore. I think Graybow is the way to go. Red Leg asked for MagTech giveaway. One, we're behind on some of the MagTech ammo because I was going to ship it, but then MagTech insisted they wanted to, so I'm hoping everyone's getting that taken care of. On the podcast from Africa, I said I'd give away a box of that 6.5 Creedmoor, but I didn't really organize it. Jackie's finally putting together what I promised the last podcast we did, which was a contest on the giveaway page. I don't think that's there yet. I've just been too buried with Mayday safety. So once she gets the giveaway contest up and running, which will be on Facebook, I'll tell people where the link is, or on my website. That'll be an easier way for me to handle the MagTech giveaways. So sorry, nothing to give away now, just because I don't have it organized. But we'll get something maybe for the next podcast. Jason, do you have any saved rounds?
I do. Actually, they just lifted all the fire restrictions this last week. So once we get past our record heat, which is today, I think we hit 116 or 117 degrees here today.
That's not that high.
No. It's just when the clouds roll in a little bit, it makes it horrible. But I can handle the dry heat. I know everybody says dry heat, but I'm telling you, man, when our monsoons hit and it's mixed with that, it is murderous for us people who are not used to humidity. I can't stand it.
You need to come out here, brother.
Oh,
it was nice humidity. And cool in Africa. I mean, it got up to like 70, I think, one day. It was so cool and cold. It was nice.
Yeah, well. I would love to say it's nice. Actually, you know what? Me and Twyla went camping a few weeks ago up by Happy Jack, and it was wonderful, man. It sprinkled the entire weekend. Felt like it was 65 degrees. And for
That's
those of you who
awesome.
don't know, it's 2 hours from where it's 115. So it's quite the elevation jump. In fact, I think where we were at had to be at least 7,000 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And what is Phoenix? 1,400, 1,500,
Yep.
something like that.
Yep.
So it was amazing all the way up until the point when I loaded the Rhino back in the bed of the truck, which we took for the first time in the bed of the truck with
Uh-huh.
the trailer. I blew out the back window of my truck. So that made a horrible trip home.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it was.
Oh.
That'll be the last time because I'm already welding up something that goes in my gooseneck with tire stops and
Yeah. A
yeah,
headache bar.
yeah.
Yeah.
Huh? So for those of you that have ever loaded a Rhino in the bed of your truck and didn't blow out your back window, you're better at it than I am. So uh, as soon as I touched it and I heard the glass shatter, I knew exactly what happened.
That's funny. Well, everyone, I'm glad you tuned in. Sorry it took so long for us to get our podcast up. This one won't actually be released out there on in podcast land for a couple weeks, just because we have so many other the Africa podcasts still coming. I have one with Mike Fisher to come from CBC Ammo, which is MagTech. I have one with Martin Bomber from Vortex coming, and I have one with Brian James from Barrett coming. And then I'll upload this one and we'll get it out there. So I appreciate everyone tuning in. Jason, great to talk with you, man. Thanks for coming back.
Oh, I know, man. It seems like forever.
So, all right, we'll try and get on a more regular schedule and I'll get a better giveaway going. You guys need to tell Jackie to get that thing figured out. We'll get it going. So thanks, everybody. Take care.
Take care, everybody.